From now on, you're going to have to watch it on the app, is what he said. No more YouTube, no more Facebook Live. You got to watch it on the app. So you'll need to download the app to watch. Okay, also going on today is the gambling issue. And there's lots of issues at the legislature, but gambling is the issue that we've been covering the closest. And, big thanks to our Republican senators, many of them, not all of them, but overwhelming number of our Republican senators. Thank you guys very much for passing the gambling. I know that's what you ran on. I know that was what you went back and when you spoke in the churches and you spoke to the community groups. I know you told them all, this time in Montgomery, I'm going to focus on gambling. That's what we're going for. Just like we told them we was going to focus on a gas tax, too. Never mentioned it till right after the election. Now let's have a gas tax. So these folks didn't run on a lottery. There's not an outcry of people out there wanting a lottery. I mean, the only people talking about this are people in Montgomery. You got a few people that they just want to gamble, and at least they're honest about it. But they did vote it through yesterday, and Joe Godfrey with ALCAP, you heard him on here last week, telling us what was coming and begging us to call our senators, and I hope many of you did. Joe, fill us in on it, man. How did it go down yesterday? Of course. Yeah.
So we're going to turn our attention to trying to get people to call their House members and ask them on SB 390. But they have enabling legislation and
They flipped it. Please do. I've got them in front of me as well. If you got them, you want to call them out? You call them out. My senator, yes. Gardendale Trustful, yep. Yeah. Hey, if it's not one of those 9, they voted yes. So if we didn't name yours, they voted for it. And no one abstained. They all voted. Were there some? Not there. Okay. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Sure did. Yep. Yeah. 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 That's the win. And as we said last week, we can't redo the whole show last week, but this doesn't generate any new money in Alabama. All it is money that's not going to be spent for other goods and services. It just reappropriates it to a different area, and somebody else gets to keep a big part of it. And I go back to the schools. If you want to gamble to help the schools, that's ridiculous. If you want to help the schools, go write a check to your local school. They'll get 100% of the money. Don't even put that up as an excuse that you want to help the schools or you want to help the kids. Yeah, yeah, healthcare. Yeah, well, they're trying to throw in all the buzzwords. So hopefully, there's enough buzzwords in there that something will resonate with everyone and make them want to vote for it. But it's not a solution to anything. I had Dr. Erwin Lutzer on the day after you last week, Joe, from the Moody Bible Church in Chicago, and we had a good long conversation. At the end, I asked him. I said, Illinois is one of the states that's had a lottery and gambling, and all. You've had it for a good while, and he's been there, at the Moody Bible Church for decades. And I said, you probably remember when they brought this to Illinois. He said, oh, yeah. And I said, well, how's it turned out? And he had one word. He said, terrible. I mean, one word answer. He was like, don't do it. So anyway, it's a bad bet for Alabama, but we got to call our House members. And you've got to let them know to vote no against this. They're the closest to the people. And then of course it would have to go through a vote of the people in November. So this isn't legal yet. I didn't mean to give that impression, but our Republican senators have crossed a big valley to make this happen, and they've got momentum, and we've got to take it back. Yeah, yeah, alcohol. That's done. The governor signed it, so in about 6 months, people will be able to have alcohol delivered directly to their home. What a dangerous situation that is for people. I mean, you're setting people up for disaster in their lives. Meaning, you're setting them up. It's a horrible idea, but we had a caller, Joe. You remember? He said, "Well, they do what they want to do for themselves." He said, "A lot of these." Were you here when that guy called? I'm trying to remember. I think his name was Dan. He called in. Maybe it was after you left, and he said, "Well, they set things up for themselves. A lot of them do." He said they want to have alcohol, but they don't want to be seen out buying it. So they're going to set this up so they can just have it delivered to their home or I assume, their hotel or pretty much anywhere, right? Well, it's a bad deal. Our state senators are failing us right now, in my opinion. Many of them, not all of them. There's a few. We named them. We're giving them credit, that are standing the line and trying to keep Alabama, the morality of Alabama where it is. And I tell you, this results in a lot of bad things. It's going to affect our kids in a lot of bad ways because irresponsible, addicted adults, lives will be wrecked, and their kids' lives and their grandkids' lives will be wrecked. And the reason we get so passionate about this is not because we don't want you to be able to do something. It's because we see, as ministry, we see the broken lives on the backside of this. We see the ones who show up at the churches. We see the ones who show up at the ministries, who deal with people that are hurting and broken, and their lives are destroyed, and their families are destroyed. We deal with those people on the backside, and none of the lottery money, none of the gambling money is going back to help those people put their lives back together. And so the alcohol or the gambling or whatever it may be, we see the other side of it that a lot of people don't see. And so that's why we get so passionate about it, because we know what it'll do to people's lives. Well, Joe, people can go to alcap.com, get more information. Also, there you can find your uh, your your state representative. Go there, find out who they are. Call Montgomery. That's one thing you can do. Is, well, two things: pray, and then the action you can take here in the flesh is that you can call and talk to your representative's office and let them know to vote no against this. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Find them, call, and if enough people call the switchboard down there, it'll get people's attention. If enough people are calling and asking for them and saying, "We'll tell them to vote no," the word will get around. But yeah, you can email them as well, and that does make a big difference. We've heard it over and over again. Joe Godfrey with AlCap, keep us up to date, my brother. Thank you, Joe. All right, appreciate you very much. All right, let's go to break, and we're late. We'll come back on the other side if you'd like to make a comment or a question. 205-941-1011. Of course, we talked about the chosen. I love that. Then we talked about gambling. I don't like that. But we can talk about either one. Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker will be with us in just a few moments. We'll hear from him, and we'll have asked the rabbi as well. 205-941-1011. Yeah, we had to. with us, and we'll let you call in and ask him anything you'd like at 205-941-1011 in just a few minutes. We talked with Joe Godfrey about gambling, and you need to call your state representative. We have stressed that greatly. Right here. Do it right here. That's the only one I got. We're having technical not issues, but technical issues. All right, here we go. We'll get it. Also today on the gambling issue, U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville, I think that's the first time I've said that on air. I think it is. I don't think I've talked about Tuberville since I've been back last week. He now is out sort of in favor, I hate to say in favor of gambling, but might as well be. He said today that Alabama residents should vote to decide whether to expand gambling in the state, but he doesn't have a position yet, is the way it's given, on what games should become legal. So, my thing is, we vote on representatives, and they should represent the people. And they should tell people what they're going to do when they're elected, what they're for, what they're against, and how they'll represent them. And I've got a feeling that not too many of these senators went out and told the Republican voters that they were going to be bringing gambling. I don't think they ran on that at all, but that's where we are. But that's what we vote them in for, is to represent us. And so this kind of kick it down the road, hey, just let the people vote. Well, that's why you're there. I mean, what a cop out to say that, well, we should just let the people vote. That's just you kicking it down the road and just getting out of it. That is just the soft way out. That's your way of saying I'm all for it, but I'm not going to say I'm all for it because people may not like that. So we'll just say let the people vote, and that's what we voted for. We voted Republicans in who have stood against gambling, but as Joe Godfrey said, many of these he doesn't really believe are Republicans. And look, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, but the Democrats are all in on this and have been for a long time. That's sort of a non-issue. That we've known where they stand on this for decades. So that just is what it is. But the change has come here with Republicans, and these four in particular that changed their vote from last week. And in this bill as well, they are proposing, and it's got to go through the House, but they're proposing that only certain counties can do certain things. In other words, they're picking the winners and the losers in this. And they probably promised some things to some guys. Hey, we'll get this to your district if you vote this. Yeah, we'll include your county, so you can so quote unquote benefit from it. Your people. That's just what politics are, and it's but they're picking the winners. They're picking the losers. They're going to pick which counties. They're going to pick what they'll wind up picking. What people can actually regulate this and can run it, and they're the ones that are going to get rich off of it on the front line. Then you're going to have the second line of people that are going to get rich that you're never going to know they got rich from gambling, but that's how it's going to happen. This in many ways, this and issues like it, are what turn people off about politics. It's bought and paid for. It's we're powerful. We pick the winners. We pick the losers. We say who's going to get rich, and then this is how people go into office, and they're poor, regular folks like us, and they, 10, 15, 20 years later, they're millionaires. This is how it happens. This is exactly how it happens. This issue or others. All right, Rabbi Eric Walker, he's already here. He's in studio. You ready, Rabbi?
I'm ready.
I'm
ready.
All right, when we come back on the other side, 205-941-1011, we'll hear from Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker. Stay with us.
While we're on break, there's somebody that was going to make a point that I made. It says maybe they should cast lots. Now that was the biblical way of doing things, right. And you just cast lots, and that was the biblical form.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I've said that a lot of times. Right. We're always worried about voting in our churches. They cast lots.
They cast lots.
In our church.
That's exactly right. Well, glad to our online viewers, and thank you for watching in to Priority Talk Radio with host Greg Davis. And if you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube on my feed, you can call in at 205-941-1011. I'll take your calls from anywhere. And we actually have a toll-free number if you are far outside the area, and that number is 866-551-9933. We're on a short commercial break right now. When we come back, the phone lines will get answered. And if you have questions for me, questions for Greg, who pastored Beechwood Baptist Church for how many years were you at Beechwood Baptist? 7 or 8 years at Beechwood Baptist Church, and he is the president of First Priority for 25 years, and one of the pioneers of Meet You at the Flagpole, which is an elementary and middle school program to get our kids back into the Word of God. The government can legislate what goes on inside the classroom, but outside the classroom, they have nothing to say. So their program is Meet You at the Flagpole to pray, and it's you can find them at FirstPriorityAL.com. FirstPriorityAL.com. And of course, our website, ignitinganation.com. So we'll be back from break in just a minute, and we'll be taking your calls, and you'll be able to hear my end of it. If you want to listen to the program, you can go to PriorityTalkRadio.com and just click on the Listen Live button, and you'll be able to hear both ends of the conversation. Something heavier I can prop this up with.
Yeah, I fought that battle many a days. Not to use this, maybe. That'll work. Get some better stuff. Against that screw right there. That help?
Yeah, there we go.
Here, push it up against this. I don't think it'll slide. Now back it up. You got to be there.
There we go.
Something like that where I can get it going both ways. That's the thing. Be good. Or you can see both people.
Right.
That's what I got to figure out.
And we can stick a little mount right up there.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I just got to find time to work on it. That's the thing. I haven't really been this week. I've had a long time this week. And Thursday and Friday's going to be my busiest days. So. This has been. I knew when I took the radio back this week was going to be hard because we got people coming in from out of town tomorrow, and 2 days we got a big dinner tomorrow night, so been busy. All right, we're back in, and Rabbi Walker is here with us. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to be out tomorrow. I won't be here live. My good friend Tom Littleton, who you heard on the show yesterday, he's going to be here, and he's going to host the first hour completely live and part of the second hour live. And then, Dylan, pay attention. This is what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm letting you know. And but then we're going to play some pre-recorded conversation that we're going to record earlier tomorrow. I just can't be here during showtime. But my good friends, Phil Springer and Larry Franks, both from Decatur and then further north Alabama, who do First Priority, they do Priority Kids, they do what I do up in their communities and their cities. They're going to be in studio with me in the morning. We're going to be here early. We're going to record it, and then you'll hear that tomorrow during the 4 o'clock hour. So Tom Littleton will be here live. He'll be able to take your phone calls, and he'll host the majority of the show live. And then you'll hear a brand new conversation, nothing we've never aired before. We haven't even had it yet. We're going to do it in the morning. And then you'll be able to hear that live tomorrow, right here on Priority Talk. And then Friday, Jason Crabb joins us, the great gospel contemporary Christian singer. He joins us coming up Friday on the program. And of course, he's going to be here in our local area, within our listening audience here in Alabama at Crossway Church of God, April 25th at 6 p.m. And I'll visit with Jason on the program coming up on Friday. So we hope you'll make a point to be with us for that. All right, Rabbi Walker here in studio with us. He's been here hanging out for a few minutes, and now he's here. So, Rabbi Walker, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great.
How are your classes? How have they gone this week so far? Well, you had Monday night.
Had Monday night in Tuscaloosa.
First Baptist Tuscaloosa.
First Baptist Tuscaloosa, and that's every Monday night. We're teaching. Right now, we're in the book of Exodus. We do verse by verse, Hebrew and English, expository. It took us 94 weeks to get through Genesis.
Yes.
And we have no time limit, no caps. So we go deep dive into it. And then
all of that Genesis is all available on your website.
All available on the website.
IgnitingNation.com.
IgnitingNation.com.
You go there and get on his teaching platform there.
Biblical Truth Library.
And you can go all the way through the book of Genesis, which to me, if you're going to study a book, that's the place to start. There's no doubt.
It's in the beginning.
That's why it's it. And Hebrew and English, and walk you all the way through it. And I got to hear a lot of that. I didn't hear all 94 sessions, but boy, I tell you what, I'd get in on that, and now you're adding Exodus to it.
Right. So now we're in Exodus. I think we're in Exodus 13. It airs Wednesdays at 11 on the Igniting a Nation broadcast. So today, one of the previous sessions was aired today, and that's what's watched globally. And then Thursday night, we do it at Mountain Chapel United Methodist Church at 2541 Rocky Ridge Road. And that's a little bit more freestyle because we're not on camera.
Okay.
So there's a lot more, and I'll be broadcasting that, live streaming that through Facebook, YouTube, and the Twitter feed, just like I'm doing now. We're piloting in a new program here. It's the first time I've ever been able to do this, live stream. And so we'll start to live stream all of those classes. And then starting on Tuesday, June the 8th, I'm launching Revealing Prophecy. And I've written a 4-part, 1-hour series on just how to understand, how to study prophecy. You know, that's not taught. As you and I both know, not part of the curriculum at any church, not part of the curriculum of most seminaries, is to how do you study prophecy? And then we'll get into that old format that I used to bring the events of the prior week and link them, what's going on in Israel, what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on in Europe, Asia, Africa, the United States as it regards Israel, and tie it in and link it into biblical prophecy. So if you're looking for an understanding of how prophecy works, why it's so important, why you can't do away with the Old Testament prophecies, and look at the fact that there's approximately 2,500 prophecies in the Bible, of which around 2,000 have been fulfilled exactly as God said they would, then there's every reason to believe that the remaining 20% will be fulfilled exactly as God promised them. And that's what we're on the lookout for, is the signs of the times that Jesus, Paul, he wrote in his letter to Timothy, these days of Noah, these days of Lot, what things are significant, what things are not significant. Is it important that Israel's signing peace accords? Is it important that Egypt may attack a country? Is all that relevant to biblical prophecy? And so knowing that Israel is the epicenter, Jerusalem is the epicenter of prophecy, that everything that impacts that, American decisions, policy decisions, the fact that we've enjoyed these Genesis 12 and 3 blessings on our economy, and then we have now a new administration that's actually sending hundreds of $millions to the Palestinians and changing the course, we can expect that God's going to respond to that.
Well, we had a pro-Israel president, Donald Trump, as pro-Israel as any president's been recently, right. I'd say, for sure. And now we have a pro-Palestinian president. I mean, the whole administration. I mean, that's just where it's at. So it's different, and that makes a difference.
Well, and this change has to happen. And when people ask me, what do I think of it? Okay, we had a president that recognized sovereign Israel and Jerusalem as the sovereign capital of Israel. So in Ezekiel 38, Israel has to be at peace with their neighbors. So there began these negotiations for peace agreements. But there's also the adversary. And if you take a look at the Biden administration, they're buddying up to the adversaries, where the Trump administration buddied up to the allies. So in order for Ezekiel 38 to happen, there's got to be Gog, Magog, there has to be Persia, there has to be Turkey, Gomer, Beth Togarmah, Libya, all those nations, and that's where you're finding this administration moving towards. So it really strikes a biblical balance. And it's not that we like it, but it's what the Bible says. Yeah. And so one president took us halfway, the other president's going to take us the other half of the way, and we can look for in this period a time of what the Bible calls solipsis, tribulation. These are going to be difficult times. There's going to be wars. The attack on Iran's nuclear facility set them back 9 months. It was a bomb which was placed by Mossad and then remotely triggered. And they have made it known that that's exactly what happened. We're not going to deny it. And if they have nuclear power, then Israel, independent of any other nation in the world, is going to defend itself. The worst thing that can happen to Israel is for Iran to have nuclear capability. This is the big discussion about pulling out of Afghanistan. Is if we leave Afghanistan, if they had chemical weapons, they'd use them against us. If they had nuclear weapons, they'd use them against us. And so is it prudent and wise? My heart goes out to the soldiers that have served there and have lost them there. But if we give up turf to the Taliban and to Al-Qaeda and these terrorist organizations, the same way if Israel gives up any room to Hezbollah, to Hamas, to Boko Haram,
well, you can't appease.
You cannot appease. There is no appeasement.
Yeah, none. And when you begin appeasement, that's never ending because you can never give enough. That just doesn't happen. Have you been watching? And we'll bounce around here. We'll take your phone calls now. 205-941-1011. Just because you mentioned some of these places, I want to tie it in. Have you been watching the Chosen series? Have you watched it at all?
I've just started.
Okay.
The schedule that I have.
It's difficult.
Because of 3 hours of live TV. Yeah. The fact that in 4.5 years I've read 2,000 books.
I knew you hadn't mentioned it to me, so I figured maybe you had it, but you have started it?
I started it because somebody encouraged me to really study how they portrayed Nicodemus. So I watched the first segment. Okay. And
that Nicodemus portrayal I really liked.
Well, it's very accurate. And what people fail to realize, Archie Kendall was just on with me, and he wrote a book, 25 Ways You Might Be a Pharisee. Mm-hmm. And one of the things we talked about was there's two distinctions between the Pharisees. One is there's the Pharisaic theology, and you and I are both Pharisees. We believe in the Bible, the law. We believe in the prophets, and we believe in resurrection. Those are the three fundamental principles of Pharisees.
Not the Sadducees.
Sadducees only believed in the law, no resurrection, and no prophecy. And so,
and the old joke is that's why they were sad. You see,
right?
We couldn't miss that.
Right, we could not miss.
Where's
that.
The laughs at? We need people like. Where's our
laugh
studio
track.
Audience laughing? So we're Pharisees,
right? And so, what Jesus railed against was the fact, the prominence, the size of the phylacteries, the tefillin that they wore, that they lorded over people, and ultimately, he made the statement, "Call no man rabbi." Yeah. And it was because in the context of their taking the role of master, not teacher. And so I get, not a day goes by that I don't get a comment on YouTube saying, well,
what do you think?
Why do you call yourself a rabbi when Jesus said, call no man rabbi? Yeah. Well, you and I know that the right interpretation of Scripture is contextual. You have to read it in the context. Who are they writing to at the time? Yeah. And then you can apply a 21st century view to it. Well, I'm not the master of anybody. I'm just a teacher. Yeah. And that's what they call a teacher.
Well, it's like anything. You have to define what you mean by something.
Exactly.
It's all about not about the word, but how you define the word.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, you're not trying to lord over anyone. You're just a teacher, and a good one at that. Well, I didn't know. So you haven't got all the way through season 1.
No, I'm actually.
They start off with Nicodemus, and then they come back to Nicodemus a little later. And that's where I'd be interested to get your perspective a little later. And then last night, what prompted me to mention this now was in the episode last night, the first episode they showed last night. Jesus and the disciples, they were headed. They mentioned, "Hey, Jesus, how long are we going to be here in Banyas?" Of course, it's the northern region of modern day Israel, Banyas. Right. And then they got to Caesarea, which we visit there when we go to Israel. Right. I've been with you, and you're going again next month.
Well,
next month?
No, actually,
in the fall. That's right, in the fall.
No, we're actually going March 31st, April 13th.
We'll be there about the same time.
Yeah, everything got changed.
My trip's next March as well. Then they were headed to Syria, is what Jesus said at the time. He said, we're headed to Syria. So I thought that might have caught some people's ear to hear Jesus say, we're going to Syria. Same place. They might not have known Banyas and Caesarea.
Right.
Those still go by the same name as well. Right. But to hear him say that they were going to Syria, many people may not have realized that Jesus went to Syria and performed miracles. And
so biblically, they were known as the Assyrians.
Yes.
So, today we just call it the same thing. And so if you take a look at Genesis 15 and biblically mandated Israel, that's all within the borders of biblically mandated Israel. Israel would extend all the way to Lebanon, Syria.
Well, tell me if I'm wrong, but they've never reached the borders that God laid out. It's never fully been there.
We've never been sovereign over that. And that's something that, in particular, in regards to Ezekiel 38, implies that there is what God would call sovereign Israel, which means Israel has to extend its tent pegs in order to be within the boundaries, and that includes Lebanon, Syria, northern Iraq, all of Jordan. Then you have the upper portion of Saudi Arabia and Egypt, and so that's what would bring them to a peaceful relationship with their neighbors, because now your neighbor is Turkey, and you're right on the border of Iran.
Yes.
So you would go up to Mosul and down before Babylon. That would be all sovereign Israel.
Okay. Yeah, I knew it never hit all those boundaries that God laid out. Hey, well, let's take your phone calls, 205-941-1011. It's your opportunity to ask any question you'd like to ask. Right? It can be what we're talking about biblically, the issues he's brought up, for prophecy issues, but just then also any question you may have had about the Old Testament, the New Testament, how they relate, about Jewish culture, Jewish life, Hebrew life, Hebrew language, any of those things. This is why Rabbi Walker comes in, because he can answer all the questions that I'm not smart enough to answer. All right, so we'll do that on the other side. Let's hear from you now. 205-941-1011. It's your chance. We'll be right back. stuff off. I'll get there. We're just trying to get. I'm trying to get schedule and routine, and get phones working and all that kind of stuff. Ain't nobody calling today. Dead. I got to give a shout out to a guy. He's driving through. See if he's listening. My buddy JD, he was coming up from Hattiesburg last night. He picked us up all the way to Livingston, coming up from Mississippi. Even though a little map barely shows Tuscaloosa, but he said he picked it most of Meridian. And we're back in. And hey, big shout out to my buddy JD Simpson. He's driving through Alabama from traveling from state to state, and let me know he's listening in. So thank you, JD. Appreciate that. He coordinates First Priority down in South Mississippi, Hattiesburg, and the likes. And hey, thanks for dinner last night, by the way, JD. He came through town and called me up and bought my dinner. Wasn't that nice of him? It was good. I had to share my chicken with him, but we got it. All right. Rabbi Eric Walker in studio with us, and we're looking to hear from you, of course. 205-941-1011. It's your opportunity to ask any question that you would like to ask. And it sounds like we're going to be in Israel about the same time. Everybody's trips have gotten pushed. What's the status with Israel right now? I'm hearing what I hear. What do you hear as far as the travel? And
right. Israel has announced that they're opening up May 23rd to pre-approved groups. So what that means is birthright trips and trips that are recognized and already have had their programs on file with the state of Israel. September is supposed to be when they're going to open up to for general tourism. And by the time we go, everything should be completely in place and easy. But it's going to be required that you have a COVID vaccine.
Is that for sure?
That's what they're saying now.
I don't doubt it, but I hadn't heard that for sure. I was wondering if you had heard that.
Right. Right now, no one comes in without a COVID vaccine, and you'll have to be tested when you get there.
That's going to be anywhere.
That's going to be anywhere.
It really is.
So wherever you land, if you go from Atlanta to Frankfurt, you're going to be tested in Atlanta. You're going to be tested in Frankfurt. You're going to be tested at Ben Gurion. And
I believe we're going to have some overlap on our days now.
I'm sure.
I think I'm ahead of you, so we'll probably already be down in Jerusalem while you're up in the northern area.
Right.
We'll be a few days ahead of you, I believe.
And then we'll be down in Petra. We're going down to Jordan.
Okay.
On this trip to Eilat for 3 nights.
Yeah.
So this is the big extended trip, 13 days, as opposed to the usual 10.
Yeah.
And so we start out in Haifa, and then we work our way over the Galilee. And this year we're staying in a hotel that's never been opened. Nobody's ever stayed in it.
Really?
This is the Sophia. Brand new hotel. It was brand new when we booked it. They hadn't, as a matter of fact, we were the first group to book. And of course, with the shutdown.
Yeah. Well, we're going to stay in a new hotel as well. Now, I can't say we'll be the first ones to stay in it, but a newer hotel, very new, over in Magdala on the Sea of Galilee. So instead of staying in Tiberias, we're going to stay over in Magdala.
Well, it's beautiful. I've seen the hotel.
Have you?
Yeah,
Okay.
They were constructing the hotel when I was last there, and it's going to be beautiful.
Should have a beautiful view.
A beautiful view.
That's what I'm hoping for on the sea, on the Galilee.
Right, and of course that is truly a biblical site. You know that when you stand in that synagogue, your feet are implanted exactly where Jesus' feet were implanted. There's not a maybe.
Well, the Bible says he taught in all the synagogues around Galilee, and that's one of them.
So they've now finished and hold services in that beautiful place that has the huge painting of his feet.
I saw that today.
Yeah.
Now, when we went there, it was all there, but now they're holding services in it.
They're holding services in it, and the services are incredible.
I saw somebody had posted that.
Yes.
That's incredible. Hopefully we can get in on some of that. Yeah, if you've never went to Israel, if you've never went to the Holy Land, what a great opportunity. So there's 2 opportunities to go right there. But there's lots of people, there are going to be lots of trips going because everybody's trips got delayed.
Everybody got
and so now it's going to be.
It's been 2 years since all of us have been.
Everybody's been pushing them back.
Right.
We were supposed to go this spring, so now we're going next spring. You were supposed to go in May, You sort of pushed it to the fall.
Right, I pushed it to July.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And then the airlines came back and said, nope, we're not going to fly. And so that caused us to move it to actually a better time for us, which is March 31st to April 13th. Weather's nicer.
Yeah, it is. That's one reason I picked that time.
Cooler. And because we're going down through the Negev,
oh, yeah, that'll make a big difference.
It makes a 30, 40 degree difference.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I picked that time. And our dates sort of correspond with spring break for a lot of people.
Right. And
so that helps us with some teachers, even with some teenagers that may want to go with their family. Like when I took my son with you, and when he was 15 going on 16, and we were talking today. He says, man, I wish I could go with you next year. But he won't be able to. Yeah, but he'll get back one day. But if you haven't been to Israel, boy, make your plans.
We've got, I think, 20 seats left.
Okay.
30 already booked, and we don't even have the pricing yet because you can't get pricing until after May 5th. So for our trip, so we haven't even priced it out yet. I have an idea that the airlines are going to jack their prices a little bit, and the hotels.
Well, there's demand. Yeah, everybody's wanting to go, so the demand's going to drive the price up.
Exactly.
And that is. But we have our process. I think we're good. We could change, but I don't anticipate it changing. I think we'll be good. But anyway, it's a great time to go to Israel if you've never been. Boy, just find who you want to go with. There's plenty of good people taking good trips over there, and we'd love for you to go with us or go with Eric. But if you've got a pastor going or anyone, go. We're all about blessing Israel.
Right. Because one of the things I've always said is that people say that there's Pastor Appreciation Day. They want to do something for their pastor. The best thing you can do for their ministry is to take 2 years and every month collect for it and build up enough to be able to send them on a trip to Israel. Let them join an established trip. We always have pastors. I don't think I've ever taken a trip to Israel where a pastor hasn't joined us. And it's life-changing for them.
Send them on a trip that someone else is leading, that they don't have to lead. Right. Let them go first as a pilgrim, as a pilgrim first.
Exactly.
And let them go on a good trip. There are trips that pastors can go on. I'm not against them, but I'm just saying there's trips you can send them on. They're a little cheaper. But they don't stay as long. They don't do as much. They're basically trips for pastors. They show them just enough to get them fired up about trying to bring some more people with them.
Right.
And I'm not against that. But if you really want to invest in your pastor, send them on a full-fledged trip over there. Don't cut any corners on them. Send them on a good trip, not just a promotional trip.
Right.
And I'm not against those, and there's a place for them.
Yeah, they call them familiarization
So they take
trips.
them over there, and instead of staying 10 or 13 days, they'll stay 6 days, 5 or 6 days.
Right.
And they just pop around, blow through everything. And it's really just enough to get them want to come back.
Right.
It's a teaser.
Right.
Is really what it is. And I'm not knocking it at all. There's a place for it. But if you want to invest in your pastors, send them on a full-fledged tour, and then let them come back. They'll never preach the same. They'll never teach the Bible the same. They'll never, and you're the same way. You'll never read the Bible the same. It'll go from grainy black and white to 4K HD, whatever there is. It's just going to come to life for you. All right, that's hour number one. Rabbi Eric Walker here with us. 205-941-1011. Ask the Rabbi. We're taking any question you may have about Bible, prophecy, or the Middle East. 205-941-1011. How often do you get that deal? It's your opportunity. We'll stay. We'll be right here, coming back. 1 whole hour left. Stay with us. Those are dry today. That's the first time I hadn't had phone calls any day. So I don't know what the deal is. Yeah, our airfare went up a little bit, but we just absorbed it, so we didn't have to change our price or anything. We've got about I think we've got about 16 that I've got deposits in on, and we got a bunch more sitting on ready. I just need them to get their money in. This lady about talked me to death. She talked to me for an hour. She sat down. She said, "Yeah, we'll talk, and then when the show comes, then I'll take some pictures." I was thinking, she got my whole life story, man. I don't know what she's gonna write. What do you want to go into? I guess I'll take his call. Welcome back in for hour number 2. It is Priority Talk Live here on WXJC 101.1 FM, also streaming live at WXJCradio.com. We're glad to have you with us. We've got Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker in studio with us for hour number 2, taking your phone calls, of course, at 205-941-1011. Tomorrow, Tom Littleton will be sitting in for me first part of the show. And then toward the end of the show, you're going to hear a great conversation I look forward to having tomorrow. We're going to pre-record tomorrow morning with my friends Larry Franks and Phil Springer, the First Priority directors in North Alabama and the Decatur area. So we're going to be talking First Priority all across North Alabama and Birmingham, metro area, and Tuscaloosa. So call in, listen in tomorrow. It'll be pre-recorded, but it's a brand new conversation, and that'll air sometime during this time tomorrow, during the 4 o'clock hour. So looking forward to that. Those of you up in North Alabama who know First Priority or Priority Kids, you know Larry, you know Frank, then be sure and spread the word. Those guys are going to be hanging out with me tomorrow. I'm going to be hanging out with them. Going to be a lot of fun. It was also with J.D. Simpson from Hattiesburg, our First Party director, and he's driving through the state right now and listening to the program as he goes. And so good to hear from him as well. 205-941-1011. Ask the Rabbi. That's a good way to say it, isn't it?
It is. Ask the Rabbi.
Ask the Rabbi.
Ask the Rabbi.
Whatever questions you've got, how are the Old Testament, the New Testament connected? What any
Christianity, first century Judaism,
there? Yeah, Hebrew, Judaism, first century life, any of that kind of stuff is wide open. Any question you've got, any thoughts you've had, it's your safe place. Call in and ask the Rabbi, 205-941-1011, and we'll get you on. All you got to do is call. Dylan will answer. He'll put you on hold. You'll be able to hear. I know a lot of you have never called. You'll hear the show on your phone, and then you'll hear a little click, and you'll be on with us, and then we'll let you listen to the answer, okay? 205-941-1011. Here we go with Ed. He's first up this hour. Ed from Birmingham. Go ahead, Ed.
Yes. Well, it's a great question, and the stereotype is that because you're Jewish, you know the Bible, and the truth is that only about 10% of the Jewish population is Orthodox and really studies the Bible. There's many that go to synagogue around the world, but they're not really students of the Bible. So there's only about 10% looking for a Messiah. Now, when you talk about the Trinity, you're talking about a doctrine that was architected in 325 AD, and that's when the Sabbath was changed to Sunday in honor of the sun. And so there are many things within Christianity that are directly opposed and were worded in such a way as to refute the compound unity of God. And so if you want to talk to somebody, and I'm going to give you kind of an example. I was in Home Depot a couple weeks ago, and I just happened to notice in my office trash can that in the lid there was a little sticker, and on that sticker it said, "Get refill G for this trash can." So on my way to go speak, I stopped at Home Depot. I went to the trash can aisle and I looked at the trash bags, and I couldn't find a G trash bag. And so I called somebody over and I said, "Can you help me find a G trash bag?" And he said, "Well,
Found somebody to help you?
Yeah, I found somebody to help me."
Wow.
So we looked.
Miracles never cease.
Across the aisle were the trash cans, and they had letters on them, A, B, C, G, and the one I was looking for was G. And I said, "See, I want G." But yet the trash bags were marked 13 yard and 10 quart and whatever the sizes, but they didn't communicate with each other. And yet they had a complete perfect fit. One was fairly useless without the other. And it became obvious to me that we don't talk each other's language. We don't spend enough time asking questions. And we use Christian speak to talk to Jewish people. And honestly, for 45 years of my life, I didn't understand Christian speak. And a lot of Christian speak I still don't understand. because it's not natural.
So, example, Christian speak.
Christian speak.
Give me an example.
People think born again
Yeah.
is a Christian term. Right? But we know that it was Rabbi Nicodemus talking to Jesus before there was a New Testament that talked about being born again.
Yeah.
So it's been Christianized. You have to be a born again Christian.
Yeah.
Okay, when actually it was a Jewish concept. So there's not a real understanding of what that means unless
so would another example be like we talk about the church, and we use that, it's that word ecclesia,
right,
where that was already a word that was used, that already had meaning prior. It meant a gathering
right,
of people for a purpose,
right.
things like that.
Yeah, Beit Knesset or Kehilat, it was more of a family gathering. And so we come along with words. We have one of the people that are watching the program online saying they can't hear the caller's voice, and that's correct. We don't have that tapped into my feed, so that's why we repeat the question for you so you know what the caller said. But we talk a different language, and so what happens is that in trying to evangelize, some people may say proselytize, but we need to understand and ask questions of what do you believe? Why do you believe that? And how do you celebrate this? And ask more questions than coming with an agenda of saying, first of all, you need the worst comment, Christian speak, convert.
Yeah.
I haven't converted from Judaism.
No.
Why would I? I believe in a Jewish Messiah.
Yeah. I don't know that you could.
So when we talk about we preach the conversion of Paul.
Well, and a lot of non Jewish like me, just Gentile, I don't know how to say it.
Right.
That's the issue. That's the problem.
And that's my job. And so not that I would ever consider myself to be a modern day Paul, but I've been a bridge to the church to talk about how do you talk about this. Ask about the Sabbath. Ask about try to get invited to a Sabbath service long before you invite somebody to church.
Yeah. And so I know you're not picky. So,
no.
but how do you prefer that people refer to you? I'm trying not to say it because I don't want to say it. You're Jewish.
I'm a Jewish believer.
Jewish believer. That's what I was getting at.
Right. Okay. I'm not a Jewish Christian.
Because I'll say Messianic.
Right.
That's okay. You're fine with that. But you just prefer Jewish believer.
I'm just a Jewish believer.
I'm a Gentile believer, and you're a Jewish believer.
Right. And why would we phrase it?
But are there other Jewish believers who would rather be called something else? You know what I mean? We get in this where we don't know what to say. You don't want to offend someone.
Exactly.
We talked about this yesterday in issues with race. We're just uncomfortable. We don't know what to say because different people take different things the wrong way, or don't know how we mean it.
So because I'm a biblicist and I'm a contextualist, I look at Ephesians 2. Ephesians 2 says from the Jewish and Gentile, he will make one new man. Right? So that one new man is a Jewish believer and a Gentile believer grafted in, Romans 9, 10, 11, grafted into the Commonwealth of Israel, the olive tree. And so you're a Gentile believer, I'm a Jewish believer, we're one in Messiah. That's the easiest way to say it. If I say that you're a Christian, well, is a Catholic a Christian? Well, somebody would say they're a Catholic. Okay. Well, in my Jewish mind, I don't understand. Okay, you're Catholic. Is that different than a Christian? Well, I'm a Baptist. Well, is that different than a Christian? The church, there's so many denominations and there's so much confusion. So you have to understand the language. And my point about the trash bags and the trash cans, if they talk to each other,
things aren't synced up.
Right. Then there would be the gap would be bridged.
Yeah. All right. Ed, last thought, very quickly.
Okay, but right, but does any well,
All right. Yeah, thank you very much.
I can tell you that the um, genealogy of Genesis chapter 5, of the genealogy from Adam to Noah, when translated from Hebrew into English, says, as you translate the names, man is appointed mortal sorrow, but the blessed God shall come down, teaching that his death will bring those in despair rest. So the gospel is contained within the Old Testament. Genesis 22 is a perfect mapping of the crucifixion of Jesus. I don't have to go past Genesis 22 in order to preach the gospel. That's the problem. Is the gospel message is already contained. Genesis 3:15, the seed of the woman. It's already there. If you begin to introduce New Testament theology into an Old Testament mind when you already have enough ammunition in Psalm 22, in Isaiah 53, in Genesis 3, in Genesis 5. If you already have all that information, I can talk in your language. I'm going to reach you and you're going to understand because we're talking a common language out of a common book.
All right. We got to take a break. 205-941-1011. Thanks, Ed, for the call. And we want to get to more of you on the other side. Give us a call. 205-941-1011. Ask the Rabbi, Messianic Rabbi, Jewish believer, Eric Walker, in studio with us. We'll be right back. Where do you want to go? We ain't got any call.
So I'm going to talk about Israel Memorial Day, Israel Independence Day, because that's today.
Okay. And we return 20 minutes after the hour, 205-941-1011. This is live programming here on WXJC. Thanks to Crawford Broadcasting for making this possible. And we do hope that you'll join us here on the program each and every day. Now, Rabbi Walker in studio with us today. In the past, his day was Fridays, and he was with us last Friday. But going forward now, Wednesdays is the day that Jewish believer, Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker joins us. Eric, today's a special day for Israel. It's Independence Day.
Today's Independence Day, just beginning. We in Israel, I really think they get it right. Memorial Day is the day before Independence Day. We have Memorial Day in May, And then we have Independence Day in July. Now, if you would think about it, July 3rd might be a more appropriate day to remember all the lives that were given, sacrificed for our freedom,
and then
celebrate the next day the freedom. That's how they do it in Israel. So I think, were you with me in Israel when we went to the memorial service at the cemetery for Memorial Day, and then we went to the Independence Day celebration?
No.
Okay. On Memorial Day in Israel, just like on Yom HaShoah, the day of the Holocaust, there is a siren which sounds at 12 o'clock. And every vehicle on every highway in every part of the country stops and people get out of their cars. And they spend 1 minute in silence, in prayer. The whole country. And we're talking about 8 million Jewish people. Plus the Arabs.
They all do it?
Everybody does it. Everyone does it.
And that's what I think a lot of people don't realize that over there. Those folks, there is conflict. You can't believe what you see on the news all the time. There is conflict. There is hatred. But they do coexist.
They live next door to each other.
They're right there.
If you live in a settlement in a high-rise apartment building, okay, you can have an Arab, Muslim, Israeli citizen as your next door neighbor to your right. You can have a Arab Christian to your left. Across the hall, you can have a black Ethiopian Jewish family. Next to them would be a family from Russia. And when those kids get up in the morning to go to school, they all hold each other's hands, walking down singing songs. They don't know one's an Arab. They don't know one's a Muslim. They don't know one's a Christian. They don't know one's this or that. They pay no attention to it, and they live in perfect harmony. And Israel is the safest, most peaceful country in the world. And people don't realize that. Yeah. This Memorial Day, we celebrated the least amount of deaths in Israel from terror in Israel's 73-year history. Which is amazing.
Well, yeah, it really is. You wouldn't know that if you just watched the regular news talking about over there, see the reports. You wouldn't know that.
Yeah, somebody just wrote and said, yeah, my question is answered. Watch the moment of silence on TV7 Israel, very sobering. So every car stops. Imagine if in this country that we had a siren sound in every city at the same time, right, and we had enough respect and unity to remember that some gave all, but all gave some.
Yeah.
And we remember that in our short history, and listen, I've lived 25% of America's history. My mother at 95 has lived 35% of America's history. We're a young country. Yeah. And when you think about how many lives we've lost in both our independence, in our Civil War, and in all the different battles and troubles that we've had, we need to honor in not just barbecues and parties and a moment of silence that's really reverent and that everybody from every walk of life. Maybe that's the kind of thing that we need to gather around unity instead of talking about diversity. Find out that the fact that all of this diversity that we have in this country is because of the price that was paid for freedom. And then honor those that paid the price so you could be here in this country.
Well, the problem is with all that is it's just like tolerance. The people who preach tolerance for the last 20, 25 years now are done with tolerance.
Right.
The people who are going to preach diversity, the next, sort of one of those next messages behind tolerance, diversity, not too far down the road, they're not going to be for the diversity.
Right.
It's going to be their way, and they're not going to be tolerant of it. Those things kind of play out. That's one of our issues, is that all these things that we are forced to accept, all of a sudden, once we kind of give on our end, give our side of it, the other side changes the rules again. They change the language again.
Right, and we
talked about that yesterday.
Right, we suffer that in the body. We suffer that in the body of Messiah, and that's where, if you're going to listen to the two greatest commands, love your neighbor as yourself, are we practicing that? Are we really the hands and feet? Are we really the faith and the works? Are we really taking care of the widows and the orphans? Or are we selectively walking this walk? And listen,
well, we're all selectively walking it to some extent.
Right.
Yeah.
According to our good friend George Barna, 6% of the body maintains and lives a biblical worldview.
Yeah.
That's tragic.
Yeah, I've got that article right here.
It's tragic.
Yeah. That's very true. And it is tragic. And there's been a lot of people preaching that for a while. You know what I mean? Saying this is what's going to happen. And it's happened.
Well, you have a house divided against itself, and it's not standing. Look what happened. Look what's happening within the Methodist Church. Look what's happening with the Baptist Church. Look what's happening in denominational Christianity. There's this progressive divide in how you are to embrace and love your neighbor. Okay? I'm supposed to be salt and light. Mm-hmm. Delta Airlines makes me check my bags at the door. Yeah. We always welcomed anybody from any walk of life. Straight, gay, didn't matter, but we also said to them, don't bring the behavior into the house of the Lord. If we have alcoholics here, don't bring a bottle of gin with you. Okay? If you're a smoker, don't smoke in the sanctuary. Yeah. If you're an adulterer, don't be sitting next to your girlfriend with your wife on the other side of you. Okay? Don't defile.
Sounds like you've seen some of that.
Yeah, don't defile the house of the Lord. Okay, check your bags at the door and open yourself up to hear the message. If the message convicts, if the truth of God's word pierces it, then you can affect real change.
Well, the other thing that Delta check is your ID.
Exactly.
Imagine that.
And Atlanta, Georgia, headquarters of this airlines that makes you check your ID.
And they're going to check your vaccine card pretty soon.
Well, there you go.
Will you have to have a vaccine to vote?
I don't think you have to have a vaccine to vote, but you're going to have a vaccine to get into Israel.
Yeah, yeah. You think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I figure so. I just hadn't heard officially. That's an interesting question. I haven't heard anybody pose that. Are you going to have a vaccine to vote? I mean, if you're going to go stand in line and vote, are you going to have to show a card to go into the polling place?
Yeah. My question is, are we in 10 years from now, is the first name vaccine going to be the name of the year?
I thought of that either. We're going there. 205-941-1011 is the number. Hope you'll join me and many others April 25th at 6 p.m. in Gardendale at Christway Church of God. It's Jason Crabb. He'll be there live in concert. It's free to the public, but we're recommending you get tickets at Jeff Dennis Jewelers in Gardendale or one of the 3 Jacks locations in North Jefferson County, Fultondale, Warrior, and Morris. If you're out of the North Jefferson area or out of the, just not close enough, call Jeff Dennis Jewelers, and I bet he can get you some tickets and probably sell you a diamond all in the same phone call. But if you need those tickets, just call him at Jeff Dennis Jewelers. I'll be out there that night. They'll be taking an offering, of course, to help with the expenses. It is a free concert, so we'll take an offering for those who can contribute. It'll be great gospel music with Jason Crabb, and I'll be interviewing Jason. He'll be right here on the program with us Friday. So all you Jason Crabb fans, gospel music fans, he'll be here with me on Friday. And, of course, all this brought to you by 101 WXJC, Alabama's gospel voice. 205-941-1011. Give us a call. It's Ask the Rabbi. You guys are awful quiet today. We got 30 minutes left. Let's get after it. 205-941-1011. Do what you do. Give us a call. This is the things, man. I'm shocked. I feel like I'm back on 92.5. It's springtime, and you feel it outside, of course. It's time to call today's Family Dentistry in downtown Coleman, directly behind the courthouse there on Highway 31, downtown Coleman. Make your appointment and get your smile ready for spring. Offering routine cleanings, fillings, root canals, crowns, and dentures to the entire family. It's a family dentistry. Call 256-739-3337, today's Family Dentistry. With Dr. David Kim as my dentist, you can get a fresh start for spring. Make your dental care appointment today. 256-739-3337. We appreciate today's Family Dentistry for sponsoring this program. And we need you guys to support our sponsors. And if you're out there and you've got a business or a ministry or an upcoming event, anything that you could get the word out to this great community all across north central Alabama, really, I think Montgomery north, would love to talk with you about it. That's what's going to make Priority Talk last. That's what's going to keep us here. We want to be here, but of course, we have to be able to have sponsors, and we need you to support them. And the other thing you can do, that everybody can do, is pray for us and give us a call and let us know that you're out there, that you're listening, and let the good folks here at Crawford Broadcasting know how much you appreciate this station and in this program. 205-941-1011. I told you my friend JD, this JD update. He's coming down. He just said he's going to Hattiesburg. He just said, I'm making a detour
Yes.
Yeah. That's a great question, and that's
Okay.
what he's here for.
Right.
Go right ahead.
Right. Passover is the same New Testament, Old Testament. It always begins on the 10th day of the first month, which is the month of Nisan. The process begins. That's the day of the selection of the lambs. And so Passover is actually, the lamb is slaughtered on the 14th day of the month of Nisan. And the 15th is actually the Sabbath day and the Passover day. So on the week of Jesus' crucifixion, he would have had to been crucified at 3 o'clock on a Wednesday because Thursday was a Sabbath and Friday was a Sabbath. So whenever we have two Sabbaths back to back, and most people think, well, Sabbath is just Friday, Saturday, but in your Bible, it tells you a very specific term. It says, hold a sacred assembly and do no work. That is the definition God gives to a Sabbath. So if you try to do a timeline of Friday to Sunday and get 3 days and 3 nights, you can't get there. You just can't do the math. But the Bible, in order for Jesus to have been the Passover lamb, and remember, there's no New Testament at the time this is going on, he would have to fulfill the Leviticus 23 and the Exodus 12 definition and the dates and times and places in order to be that Passover lamb. So the lamb was slaughtered before the Passover, and you ate the lamb at the Passover. When he says, how long I've wanted to celebrate this Passover with you, we tend to think that that was the actual Passover, but that would have been referred to as the Passover, not this Passover. And I hold Passover seders in churches all over the country on different days, and we celebrate this Passover, but we only celebrate the Passover on a particular day, and that is the 15th day of the month of Nisan. He would have been crucified on the 14th in order to be the Lamb of God. That makes sense? No, ma'am. Well, yes, but Sunday is the Jewish first day of the week. It's um, it's it's always been. Remember, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. The earth was unformed and void. There was 6 days that He worked. It was evening then morning. Okay, the Sabbath is from Friday at sundown to Saturday at sundown. Sunday actually begins at after sundown on after the Sabbath is over. So when you read about Paul's journeys, and this is made very clear, that when he came to a city, he would visit the synagogue first. He was Sabbath observant. He then, and the following evening, when the Sabbath was over, he would then go in and visit with his Gentile friends and the church. So he was a Sabbath observant. So the first day of the week since the beginning of creation, there's 14 verses that describe the creation in Genesis. The first day is the Hebrew calendar, it's the universal calendar. The first day has never really changed. And so the seventh day, um, in fact, becomes the first day.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you for the call. We hope to hear from you again. Appreciate you. All righty. 205-941-1011. And yeah, I got confused. All right. We got confused. So, Dylan, the Buc-ee's is actually in Athens. And I do remember that now. Leeds, of course, is going to Atlanta. Athens. Yeah. Well, and that's only. Well, thank you, Michael. I didn't know, and I do remember that now because Leeds has got the Atlanta covered. And I remember that's what I was thinking was, well, they're going to Atlanta now. They're going to Nashville. As you travel those major roads heading to those major cities. So
Now,
Athens, Alabama.
what chapter and verse is Buc-ee's in?
I don't think it is. Wherever it's okay to eat brisket, I guess.
Well, then, you may find a lot of people wearing.
Where's our freedom to eat brisket?
It's actually in Deuteronomy.
Okay, there you go. That's where Bucky's was born, right?
That's
there.
where Bucky's was born.
Came right out of Deuteronomy.
There you go.
Sure did.
Clean. Well, actually, Genesis 6, Noah.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he brought 2 of every unclean animal, but he brought 7 of every clean animal.
Yeah.
So they already had, and they really go back to Cain and Abel because Abel would have had to sacrifice a clean animal.
Okay, so man, Bucky's has been around a while.
So it's been there since the beginning.
Bucky's is not Bucky's without the brisket. That's what I hear. I haven't been. Counting on JD to let me know. Maybe Michael knows. He sounds like he knows all about Bucky's. But no, I had read the article. It is Athens because I remember. I don't know my mind. I guess I shouldn't have got off on Bucky's. We're chasing a bad rabbit here, but because I drive to Nashville more than I drive to Atlanta, so that's going to be good for me if I like Bucky's. I'm not sure if I'm going to be a fan yet.
You may have to do a remote from Bucky's just to give a report so
Maybe.
that we know whether or not it's worth the trip.
Maybe.
A live remote from Bucky's.
Well, we'll send you out, correspondent. You go get the brisket.
I'll be the 4, and here we have Bucky's brisket is so good.
That's what everybody says. I've never had anyone tell me, "Oh, it's overrated" or "It's not as good as they say." Never heard that. It's always good.
Now, to our Facebook viewer, let me ask you, what else is Bucky's known for if it's not other than brisket?
I don't know.
Well, I'm asking our Facebook user that just texted me that says Bucky's brisket is so good.
That's what I hear. Does it come as a sandwich? Is that the idea? Is it a brisket sandwich, or is it just a brisket plate? I'm not
I think
really
they
sure.
serve you the whole cow. They mark it off in sections, and then you get a carving knife and a fork, and it's like a buffet, all you can eat.
I'm not sure. 205-941-1011. We've got 15 minutes left. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
So turkey's good there too.
Is it? Okay. Everybody talks about the brisket. It's all I ever hear. Well, I didn't know it was going to devolve to brisket today. And I can't believe it's quiet all the time. I'm shocked. This has been the least calls by far. By far. Robert from Tuscaloosa found us yesterday. Well, so next spring, when I go to Israel, you're not going to be able to fill in for me. You won't be. You'll be here. You won't be able to fill in for me next spring. All right, we're back in, and last few minutes of the program here, 8-9 minutes left. Thank you for being with us. You guys are awful quiet today. 205-941-1011. Last week we took one call after another while you were here. Couldn't get them fast enough. So anyway, live radio, you never know. WXJCradio.com. If you're away from the phone, don't forget you can always listen online as well. They're at the website, and there you can also find all of the programming for this station. So you can find out when all of your favorite Bible teachers are on during the day and the evening. Some of the programs you hear in the morning, they come on again in the evening. So if you miss it, or if you hear part of it and you want to hear the whole message, you can do that. You can also go to one place as well. Those are all there also. So we're glad to have Rabbi Walker here. Of course, Wednesdays is going to be his day here with us in studio. So you guys got to get used to that. I think you're right. I think some people are looking for you on Friday.
Yes.
It was last Friday, and I think they're looking for you on Friday. We're going to have to create some new habits with folks. Because, gosh, how many years did we do Fridays? 5 years, probably?
5-6 years we did Fridays. So everybody looked for me on Friday right before the Sabbath. And,
yeah, but the schedule this go around is different. We got to do some things a little bit different. We're figuring it out as we go. That's for sure. Jason Crabb on the program with me tomorrow. So be sure and join us for that great conversation. Jason Crabb, and he'll be here coming up on April 25th, of course, at Christway Church of God. So we'll be talking with him about that and a whole lot of other stuff as well. All right, let's get to the phones here and see what we've got. I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in here. We've got a couple of calls. Hey, this is Greg. We've got you live on the air. Let me get your first name. Hey, Ken, how you doing? Go ahead, man. Be quick. We got a couple of calls.
is there anything left of it? Israel's still the capital, and so they've kept that. And the embassy is still going to be built where the embassy is going to be built. But as far as the other components of the peace plan are concerned, is I expect Biden to undo it all and come up with a new Palestinian plan going back to the 67 borders.
Yep.
And that's never going to fly because God says, I will never again will my land be divided into two. And so that's a failed attempt, and it's a fool's errand to come up against God.
Well, we know where it's going to go for sure. Just maybe the process. Thank you, Ken. We appreciate it. And now Stephen is with us from Moody. Go ahead, Stephen. You got you. Doing great. Yes, tell us about it. Okay, I had some of those. Somebody brought me some of those. Yes. Nuggets, nuts. Okay. Oh, beef jerky.
See, now I'm a huge.
I got Eric's attention there.
I'm a huge jerky fan. I love it. And
when you said beef jerky, right. Eric, he lit up on that.
Well, not just beef jerky, but I like bison. I like deer, venison. Beef I'm kind of worn out with it, but and the prepackaged stuff. But people that are deer hunters, especially in my Tuscaloosa crowd, that are deer hunters, always bring me bags of homemade jerky. And you want to get to the rabbi's heart. And
I saw that.
It's biblical. It's very biblical to give the rabbi a food offering. Very biblical. So baked goods, canned goods, jerky, and if you need the address to send them to, I'll be more than happy to, or you can just visit ignitingnation.com and send them right there and make sure it's to my attention. And if you take pride in jerky, I will give you a rating and give you feedback and give you a shout out right here on this show.
There you go. Hey, Stephen, what are the gas prices like at Buc-ee's? Yeah. Yeah, but it doesn't. Does it run a little high, run a little low, or just kind of average? Oh, okay. Now, are folks in Leeds Moody? Are y'all kind of done with Buc-ee's? I hear you're kind of like, I mean, it's just all the people it's bringing to the area. I bet those state troopers out there, I bet they've loved this. A lot of traffic. Okay. Sometimes those things are great for people traveling, but the people that actually live there sort of get tired of it, because it just. All right. Well,
now somebody just mentioned online about a Bambi burger. So they got Bambi burgers. They got venison burgers. Wow. I may have to make. That's a road trip for me. I may have to make. Well, thank you.
all righty. Hey, thank you, Stephen. Appreciate your call, man. Good to hear from you. All right. All right. That's Ask the Rabbi for today. Learned all about dietary.
All kinds of stuff.
Beef and pork and everything, all of it. All right. Good show. You guys were awful quiet, but good to hear from you guys who did get in here with us. We appreciate it very much. Stephen, good to hear from you. And Suzanne, appreciate it. Ed, Ken, thank you very much. All right. Tomorrow, again, Tom Littleton will be sitting in for me, and he'll be bringing a live show for most of the program. And then during the 4 o'clock hour, part of the 4 o'clock hour is going to be a conversation that I will be recording in the morning with our first priority directors up in North Alabama, Decatur, and then on up into the Huntsville and across to the Shoals. Phil Springer and Larry Franks, they'll be with me tomorrow. So it'll be pre-recorded, but it's going to happen tomorrow. But I cannot be here during showtime tomorrow. So we're going to have a little combo show for you. So you guys call in, support Tom tomorrow, and he'll do a great job. You heard him yesterday. He'll be back tomorrow. Always brings a lot of great perspective and information and content to the program. And then Friday, Jason Crabb joins me on Friday's show. So lock it in every day right here, 3 to 5 p.m. Don't go away. Keep it right here on WXJC. Rabbi Walker, as always.
Thanks. And a great shout out to all the people that are watching us online. The first time we've tried this out, and glad that you liked it. Glad you participated. We'll do it again next Wednesday for Ask the Rabbi. Wednesday, 3 to 5 p.m. I'll be right here.
All right. Sounds good. Have a great evening, everybody. God bless.
God bless.